Good morning, fellow Ambazonians. Today, now Sunday, number 28 day for this month of May, 2023. My name na Capo Daniel, una own countryman, Mr. No Connie, Lukong. I don't come again once more with our daily podcast, a program where they bring una the truth, it bring una important information, fact-based analysis for help we as we work for this journey to our freedom, to the independence of Ambazonia. Good people of Ambazonia, today we go start with information where it come out from the brother of No Pity, where he talk for a video where it be released, say No Pity, he be done die. And I go get back for our people then, because it be very important and a very important person for our struggle. Make our people then know his status. May they not be blindsided, and me la Republic use them for political gain. I go bring on the facts after I done do consultation, because at the end of the day, the Marine Force for Bambalang, and then get the ultimate decision on how then decide for Project No Pity. But what I can assure our people is that the statement I have previously made still stand, and I'll get to you people subsequently with details. But shake day. For today's podcast, I will focus mainly on the last segment for the advice given to Ambazonia by the United States of America through Undersecretary of State Anthony Tibonagi. We then put out a specific advice for our people, because this same advice we idan giam na the thing with the State Department they talk, na the thing with the European Union they talk, na the thing with the UK they talk for background, and it be important make our people them know exactly what did happen. But first, yesterday one of our top commander he be unaccounted for. Na we would work very closely. He don't work very closely with me from the time of General Cross and die for Bamenda, for Tanka. They become for work with me. In particular, as a matter of fact, they be taken out for work with me when General Cross be there. And Pastor, I don't work with you very closely for fight against kidnapping, for ransom, for Bamenda, for fight against armed robbery and burglary. For Bamenda, we don't fight very hard, and we don't lost some soldier them in doing so for protect our population. So yesterday, Pastor be unaccounted for. I want to inform our public and all our forces. I don't know whether he fall shock na due to infighting or na la Republic, but yesterday he be come for inside Bafut, and if he give the exact location where be the come out, we enter shock. The bike it then be taken away, and the phone now they be used by the enemy. So if any person they way it talk with Pastor, a couple of phone calls that then be made from a number, make you know say no be Pastor they talk for you. Pastor, I consider the issue is probably by now say it don't fall, because the issue with the meet up a bike with blood after gunshot for around Bafut area. It no be clear whether now gunshot from La Republic or Ambazonia, but I feel confirmed for our people. They say the commander for the Anti-kidnapping Squad for Bamenda for Tanka, Pastor, have fallen. So make our people then be on note, and EBB the commander for the unit where they will go for that operation for Don Simon as well, for carry out an operation where unfortunately a journalist be killed. They wouldn't get a lot of threat and a lot of things for your life. I don't know whether I relate with this incident for the journalists, and I will get to the bottom of it, and I'll release the information about the investigation and dispatch people then for find out exactly what did go on. But I feel tell our people, they say if any person they way it talk with the pastor, no be pastor they talk for you. If it for any chat group, make una movie and make una consider you say that enter for inside shock. So more details could come for that later. And a very important person for inside the Bamenda for our self-defense. We don't really sacrifice a lot for make sure say we free our people them. For other issues, we'll go straight for the Tibonagi advice. And I don't tell our people, they say this advice we it come on directly for the mob for the United States. because now exactly the same way they talk for background without any exaggeration, exactly the same thing. And this is not just from the United States, but the European Union, the UK, they are saying exactly the same thing when it concerns our struggle. Yesterday we have played an excerpt where he talks about the issue of federalism. I think that should be buried. And the second part of it, I'll play it right away, and then I will explain to you for our own language.
It goes to the United Nations with a united voice, and it goes to the governments of the United States and the United Kingdom and Canada and Germany and the European Union with a united voice. That is why that is the first critical element, because before the community can take step one, it has to speak with a united voice.
So it will be very important, make we put out message as a united people. It will be very, very important. As I don't take upon myself this rule to play the primary role of leadership for our struggle, I would expect all our people them for rally behind me. As for our various liberation movement, for them to be able to rally, it will need a lot of hand twisting. But I believe, say, when we act for the interest of our public, for the interest of our sovereignty and our statehood, everybody should be in line. So in the coming month, I'll be making policy statement for our country and our liberation struggle. And my prayer is that we all stand together, and I have assurances that we are all together from all of our forces, from all of the various factions of our struggle, except the obvious ones that we know have become a very extreme and hardline, that they can no longer reason. But I believe in my heart that these are also good people who are going to see reasoning and do the right thing for the right reason. Our people deserve our selflessness and our sacrifices. We will not sacrifice our own people for our own political adventure and experiments, but we will put the people and the people's interests ahead of ours. Without much diversion, may we continue for the speech of Capo Daniel.
Get to the question, how is the voice of the people on the ground sent around the world? Right now, we look around at the situation, and the voice of the people on the ground is actually the voice that is in the diaspora.
So, Capo Daniel, they tell our people them, the voice for Ambazonia, the voice where they talk on behalf of our Ambazonia, now the voice of the diaspora. Do not be deceived. Do not try to replicate or try any experiment. It will not work. It will not get you anywhere. Those who are in ground zero have either been compromised by their personal security and their security because the whole world understand that Cameroon can penetrate anywhere at any time if they choose to do so. So you have limited ability to communicate. You have limited ability to access. Your security can never be relied upon. And all the various experiments to replace diaspora relationship, leadership to speak on behalf of Ambazonia should come to an end. That debate should end. It is clear from every indication that this is how things are supposed to be done. These are just the reality. So nobody should have a delusion that you can replace diaspora leadership. It is impossible. The diaspora leadership will speak for Ambazonia, and the international community sees it as a proper channel for our people to communicate to the international community. So let's listen to him.
Now, we look around at the situation, and the voice of the people on the ground is actually the voice that is in the diaspora. Because those are the people that show up in the offices in New York. Those are the people that show up in the offices of the State Department. And, they're the ones that have a lot of these media outlets. So that's the voice that the international community is hearing.
So the people, the way the international community, they listen for them. Now people, the way they physically go visit the international community, them for their office, talk for them on behalf of Ambazonia. The second way they listen for Ambazonia now through our media outlet. That means the thing where they talk for television, for our social media. Those are the way where they look we and they observe we. So make no mistake about these facts and let this sink down the brain of every Ambazonian. This is what have been repeated to us privately, and I hope it being out there publicly should serve a better purpose.
Outlets. So that's the voice that the international community is hearing. These other cases that we've talked about, whether it's South Sudan, whether it's Eritrea, case of Bougainville, East Timor, there was absolutely no question as to what the people really wanted.
So the issue about mixed messaging, what the people wanted, they always talk, say, Ambazonia, it is saying conflicting messages. Is this true? Do we even understand these conflicting messages? Sometimes somebody feels, say, it means, say, the federalists, they go ahead for misrepresent themselves as speaking for the separatists, or La Republic, it is saying their CPDM and their SDF people, them go do campaign. We know, say, those things that happen, where they send people for church, send NGOs, send personality them for go try for redefine the issue, but the international community need to perceive those messages as coming from the separatists. They are smarter than that. The mixed messages they are talking about are the various hard line and moderate line that we have for our quest for independence. There is a camp which is a hardline camp that says that Cameroon have no business, no legitimacy, have never been a part of us. They will never be a part of us. They should just pack their things and go. And the only time we will discuss with them or the international community is Cameroon should come and discuss in terms of separation. And there is a moderate camp that goes and negotiate within the framework of what they perceive is the reality on the ground. Us being the Anglophones or pressure groups. We saw that even when they were going to Switzerland. You saw groups who address us as pressure groups. You saw groups which address our soldiers as a combatant. So you have the nationalist groups who are hardliners. These are groups that they consider us, our soldiers, as army. We are army of the nation. These are groups that collect tax. They believe we can collect tax because of the territorialism. We have groups that consider us as an independent country already. What happened in 1961 means that we are independent and we are just fighting to get that independent. Then you have the moderates who are on the opinion that we are fighting to separate, and they are also flirting with the idea of being a sovereign people, not really a sovereign state, a sovereign people. That is why you see they have the approach of following the government, because the sovereign people organize themselves, they can create a government. Even in the diaspora, they can create a government out of the country, and those approaches are real. Those ideological lines between the moderate and the hard lines are very, very clear. So those things are really for real, and that is the mixed messages they're having, because the hard line have very limited space for compromises. They have very limited areas where they can compromise, while those who are the moderate are more flexible. These are just the truth. As I tell you people, that is my commitment to you, to bring you exactly the truth.
And that has been one of the detractions of the case of Ambazonia, Southern Cameroons, is that there has been a mixed message which has been sent around the world. And that is what has to change if the community is going to succeed.
So the issue of us having mixed messages must change. It must. They didn't say it can. It must change. If it does not change, we will be defeated by La Republic and will face total loss. And La Republic will dictate the terms of the defeat. Our land will be gone, our honor. If you think that we have been suffering for the past 60 years, what lays ahead of us will be worse. So failure is not an option here. If you love Ambazonia to fight for us to separate from La Republic, you would be scared to your bones to allow us to be a captured people in the hands of these people. So we must resolve this issue. We cannot hide from it. We cannot play around it. We must face these challenges.
Personally, I think the chances would be very good
if the people are saying this is what we want, or we want to see this happen.
If the people are saying that with one voice, and that is the voice that is heard by the entire international community, and if the point that is made is that under the current situation, the people of Ambazonia do not have their full rights.
So if we feel be able to talk with one mob and the people then be behind this voice for the way to the demand them, and the voice now the voice with the international community, they go hear them, they go want for hear them, it go feel be able for we for win. And our case, it no go just be based on our historic wrong, but it go be based on humanitarian ground, based on human right issues, primarily, not on our history.
Privileges and dignity as prescribed by the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights, then their chances would be good. But again, I get back to the point that everybody does pay attention to who is the messenger.
So it talk about the good chance we'll get them if only we follow this path. There is a clear path between us, a chance where we can have something or a chance where we can have nothing. That is what is basically in front of us. And he also says something very important. The messenger matters. The world pay attention on who is talking.
But again, I get back to the point that everybody does pay attention to who is the messenger.
So the Ambazonia should be clear. Chris Anu and Sako have eaten money from La Republique that every intelligence service know. They have plagued our struggle with corruption, blackmail, infighting, assassination, and civil war. They have admitted publicly that they have received money from Cameroon to facilitate the exploitation of our product. No normal country will ever deal with them. That is why they were never invited in Canada when the real negotiations start. That is why the United Nations never engaged with them, but they rather engaged with Dr. Cho. So that should be very clear to the mind of our people. Seseko had been engaged. That will show you that he have a leverage, a level that he can be engaged. So there are only two people that have been engaged directly by the international community for Ambazonia, Seseko and Dr. Cho Ayaba. That is the only two they have engaged. And in the circumstances right now, Dr. Cho's leadership have been completely rejected by the international community. First, with a ban by America, the United States of America, the sanction they have placed on him, followed by the various countries. We don't know how many countries yet, but we know that after these pre-talks, the Canadians have also levied him those restrictions. The message from the Dr. Chuayaba have been rejected. His hardline have been rejected. That one, I will not twist my word with our people. You have had statement quoting him by Thibaut Nagy, telling our people that Cameroon will never, no country in the world will never, he said, never ever call Cameroon to come and negotiate its way out of Ambazonia or ask Cameroon to remove its troops from Ambazonia. Those things will never happen. He even said that till the next 300 years, so we can fight for 300 years for that to happen. Those will never happen. And these are serious issues, are not political issues. These are facts. And I have to put it out there for our people to be aware of these situations. You cannot have people who are also under investigation by the FBI, and you think that a country will a proper government will be able to shake hands with them and for them to represent our people. That will never happen.
Back to the point that everybody does pay attention to who is the messenger. So, the voice has to be one voice asking for this. And that is when the voyage begins.
So that is when our voyage will begin for us to make progress as a people. And indeed, buckle yourself for that journey.
Receiving their human rights and their human dignity under their current situation. Because if it's just a matter, for example, if it's just a matter that they're not happy with the current, arrangements, but if they had the full privileges and the equality that everybody else in Cameroon had, then it would not be a very sympathetic reception. But we all know how terrible the situation is in southern Cameroon. So that is the point that needs to be sold by the community to the international audience, because that is the pole that you put your hat on. Yeah. I'm sorry if people take offense, but as I've said over and over again, I deal with reality, not with fantasy. And, we can all imagine, you and I, how we would like the ideal world to be, but we live in this world. Some people will say it's a fallen world, and we have to deal with that. So we can have any number of conferences, and we can have brilliant academicians, because God knows the community has some brilliant academicians, give lectures on United Nations Resolution 1608 and what happened and what year and how terrible it was. But it's not going to matter one iota in the reality of this world and in moving forward.
So basically, just to make a very good case about the injustice we have faced, the illegality of the union, because we are not dealing with the international government where you can sue in an international court for judicial review. It serves no purpose for us to rely purely on our historic facts to gain our independence. Those historic facts have its own factor, a way it factors itself for leverage, a way it factors itself for bargain, to reassert how justice would look like for us, which will mean justice that will address those historic wrongs and give our people the absolute rights for self-determination, for their statehood and for their sovereignty and for their independence. It speaks for itself and it says nothing more. And these are just the facts that have been spoken to you by the most reputable person from the most consequential state that have no interest to blackmail, to deceive, but is just there on compassionate basis to show our people a light on how to go forward. Capo Daniel, signing out, looking out for you.